Hey everyone, this is day 2 of our unit on transformations, and today we're going to be exploring reflections. So remember, a transformation is the change in shape or size of an object. And again, like I said, today we're going to be focusing on a reflection, and a reflection is just a mirror image of an object. Now, there are two types of reflections. We can reflect an object over the y-axis or over the x-axis. After a reflection, the pre-image, which is the first image that I give you, and the new image are congruent. The orientation or the direction of the pre-image and the new image are different. So today we're going to first look at reflecting images over an x-axis, and then we're going to be reflecting an image over the y-axis. Just like yesterday, we are going to be completing today's assignment on Braining Camp. So in order to access Braining Camp, please click on this link, which will bring you to a new tab. If you did not save the login to your browser, please click sign in. Your username is North Rockland, no capital, no space, and your password is 12345. Then just click login. Once you come to this screen, you want to click on the XY coordinate board, which will bring you here. Again, we need, just like yesterday, the 4 quadrants. So please come to the bottom of the screen and click on the 4 quadrants, which will change that coordinate board. Again, if you don't have enough room on the y-axis or the x-axis, remember you can zoom in or out on your browser to change that. Okay, but mine is fine. And then I'm also going to click down here, this point where it says XY, so that it labels my coordinates for me. All right, so let's look at some examples. Okay, so like I said, we're first going to start with a reflection over the x-axis. Now, there's a basic rule to reflect a point over an x-axis. So just like yesterday, I'm going to give you guys 3 points, and those 3 points are going to form a triangle. We have to reflect each of those 3 points over the x-axis. So we have to follow this rule for each of those 3 points. So our first step is going to be keep the x coordinate the same. The x coordinate when we reflect over the x-axis always remains the same. Step 2 is to change the y coordinate to its opposite. So, for example, if the y coordinate is -3, we just change it to its opposite, which is +3. The number itself stays the same. The only thing we change is its sign. So if it's positive, it's going to become negative, and if it's negative, it's going to become positive. So let's look at an example. In example 1, I said a triangle has the following coordinates of 1, 1, 7, 1, and 7, 4. Our step 1, just like yesterday, are to plot these points. So let's do that. Let's go to Braining Camp and let's start plotting these points. Remember, we use these colored dots to plot our points. So my first point is 1, 1. My second point is 7, 1. And remember, I'm simply just clicking on the point, dragging it, and dropping it over the correct place on my coordinate plane. Okay, so there are my 3 points that make up my original image. Remember, it's going to form a triangle, so I need to connect these dots. We use these rubber bands to connect these dots. So I'm going to click on the pink rubber band, drag it, and hover over the first point, and then release, and it'll automatically connect it to one of those dots. In order to connect it to the last dot, click on the line and simply drag it or stretch it up to that last point, and there we go, we formed our triangle. Okay, so that's step 1. Now I'm going to come back to Google Slides. Now I got to complete part B, which is complete a reflection over the x-axis. We need to follow these 2 rules for these coordinates. So I'm going to look at my first point, 1, 1. I'm going to, step 1, keep my x coordinate the same. So my x coordinate was 1, it's going to remain 1. Okay, I got to change my y coordinate to its opposite. So its y coordinate is +1, the opposite of +1 is -1. So my new point is going to become 1, -1. Okay, now let's look at our second original point. It was 7, 1. We keep the x coordinate the same, change the y coordinate to its opposite. So 7 is going to remain. The opposite of +1 is -1. So our new point is going to be 7, -1. Okay, our last point, this +7, that x coordinate remains the same. I got to change that +4, which is the y coordinate, to its opposite. So my new point is going to be 7, -4. Okay, I now have to plot these 3 points on Braining Camp. Okay, so I got to come to Braining Camp. Now I need to plot. I'm going to pick a different color. I'm going to go +1, -1, put a point. Then I have to go to +7, -1. Then I have to go to 7, 4, excuse me, 7, -4 and put a point. Okay, we want to connect these dots to form a triangle. So I'm going to pick the blue rubber band, hover over one of my points. It'll automatically connect it to its second point and then simply stretch it to its last point. Okay, now here we go. Here's my original image or my pre-image, and here is my new image. Okay, look, I reflected this over the x-axis. Here is the x-axis. Okay, if we were doing this in school, I would actually have you guys fold this paper in half along the x-axis, and you would see that these triangles line up right on top of each other. And that's what a reflection over the x-axis is. Okay, so after we plot that second triangle, we now have to do the part C, which is copy and paste your diagram from Braining Camp. That again includes both the original image and the new image. So on Braining Camp, you simply right click on copy image, go back to Google Slides, go on the following slide, right click or hit Control V. If you right click, then you click paste, and there you go. There is your original image and your new image. Okay, so you guys are now going to complete the you do example. Again, plot these 3 points, complete a reflection over the x-axis. So all that means is keep all these x coordinates the same, but change all these y coordinates to its opposite. And you're going to write the new points in here. Then you're going to plot those new points on Braining Camp, and then copy and paste your image on this following slide here. Okay, I'm now going to just skip over to now a reflection over the y-axis. So very similar. We kind of just switched it a little bit. So when you reflect a coordinate, or excuse me, when you reflect a point over the y-axis, we again have to take 2 steps. It's the opposite of what we did for reflection over the x-axis. Now, step 1 is going to be to change the x coordinate to its opposite. Okay, so now we change the x coordinate, and then step 2 is to keep the y coordinate the same. So we're going to change the x to its opposite. So if it's positive, it's going to become negative, and if it's negative, it's going to become positive, and then the y coordinate will remain the same. So let's look at an example here. Again, I said a triangle has the following coordinates: -1, -1, -7, -1, and -7, -5. Okay, step 1 or part A, plot these points on Braining Camp. So come to Braining Camp, I'm going to clear my board and I'm going to start plotting these new points. So I just want to make sure this is 5. Okay. So we first have -1, -1. I'm going to put a point. Then I have -7, -1, and -7, -5. Okay, there are my 3 dots. I want to connect the dots. Click on your rubber band, hover over to one of your points. Click on the line of the rubber band to stretch it over to your third point. Okay, so there's my original image or my pre-image. Okay, so now I'm going to come back to Google Slides. Now I need to complete this reflection over the y-axis. I have to follow these 2 steps for each of these 3 coordinates. So step 1, change the x coordinate to its opposite. So let's look at this first original point, -1, -1. I first change the x coordinate to its opposite. The opposite of -1 is +1, and I keep the y the same. So this is going to become +1, -1. Okay, now I come to the second original point. I change the x to its opposite. So -7 is going to become +7, and the y coordinate will remain the same. So my new point is +7, -1. And then my last point, I change again that -7 to its opposite and keep the y the same. So that's going to become +7, -5. I'm now going to go back to Braining Camp and plot these 3 new points. Okay, so I'm going to come back. I'm going to pick a different color. I am now plotting 1, -1, 7, -1, and 7, -5. Okay, connect your dots, pick on the rubber band, and stretch it. Okay, and there we go. This is our original image, our pre-image, and this is our new image. Again, if I folded this in half, if this was a piece of paper, and this is what we would do in school, if we folded this in half along the y-axis, both of these triangles would lay right on top of each other. It's just a mirror image across the y-axis. Okay, so now, most importantly, we want to copy and paste our diagram from Braining Camp on the next slide. So I right click, simply hit copy image, go back to Google Slides, go to the next slide, right click, paste, and there you go. Okay, guys, so you guys are now going to complete all the you do examples. Remember, when we are completing a reflection over the x-axis, we keep the x coordinate the same, change the y to its opposite. And then when we're completing a reflection over the y-axis, we change the x-coordinate to its opposite, and we keep the y-coordinate the same. Okay? As always, guys, please make sure that you are graphing both the original image and the new image on Braining Camp. Okay? You will not get full credit if you only do one. Both triangles have to be on Braining Camp. Okay? As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask.